Hello, Art 1-2. This is your practice pattern demonstration. For this, you're going to need one of the packets that was in your set, plus the line and pattern purple packet that was in your set. I'll set that aside. You're going to open it up to, is it the back page? Okay, the back page. I already started mine. And so we are going to be doing patterns. We're going to be doing varied patterns, like this one, where it's not all exactly the same, it's just a lot of repeated things. And we're going to do consistent patterns or regular pattern where it's the same thing over and over again. So you need a mixture of the two. And so just remember, patterns are something that repeats. Obviously, we're not doing this part. This is the brainstorming that was in your Google Doc. We're only going to do 6 practice patterns. So the 3 bottom boxes you can cross out. You're only going to do the first 6. Okay, so for this one, it's to represent going to the movies. It's something that I haven't done well in quarantine. It's something that I love to do. It's something that I miss doing. So that pattern goes along with my theme of things I love to do, but quarantine is making it very hard to do. Then I have little party hat things or party announcement things to represent all of the fun times with my friends that we're missing out on. I'm also missing out on nature and being outside and going places in nature. Okay, so for the next ones, I'm going to get them out of the packet for inspiration. So I like this spiral. I just think of, like, especially in the beginning of being shut down and, you know, in the house all the time, and for me, I'm by myself, and just like the crazy thoughts going through my head about the virus, etc. So I have a spiral that can represent that, but a lot of these, if it's just one picture, this is not a pattern. I have to turn it into a pattern. So like this is not a pattern. You have to take a picture and repeat it to make it a pattern. So for the spiral, I think I'm probably just going to start in the center. Okay, then I'm going to add another spiral next to it, so I'm repeating. And another. And another. And so you are still trying to maintain good craftsmanship, even though it's a practice, because this is your practice. And for many of you, you're going to take these same patterns and apply them to your final draft. So this is you practicing to make sure it doesn't look terrible on your final draft. Let's pretend like that one's went off the page. Okay, so I'd fill that, and that becomes a pattern. I'm going to fill the box. Fill the box, fill the box, fill the box. And I could have some different sizes, maybe a couple small ones, etc. So again, you're filling each of the 6 boxes. All right, then inside of the line and pattern packet, I also liked this one, as it just kind of looks a little bit crazy. It's an optical illusion a little bit. So I wanted to put that in my final draft, but I have to change it because we're not going to be allowed to color in solid areas. We have to come up with something else. So I'm looking at the basic structure, how it looks like curved lines that kind of separate the thicker, bolder lines. So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to be inspired by it, but I'm going to slightly change it. So I'll start on this side. So it's like concentric circles that are getting bigger and bigger. Okay, then it looks like that there's lines radiating out of the center. So I'm going to use my ruler for that. And it looks like they're getting bigger as they get further away from that smallest circle. So I'm looking at the basic structure, like the basic shapes within the pattern, to draw out first. And then I'm going to put my pattern kind of within that. I'm going to build my pattern into that, I guess you could say. Okay, so in that one, Actually, let me do a couple more on this side. It's like every other one is solid black and every other one is left white. But since on our final drafts, we're not going to be allowed to color in solid because you only have 2 Sharpies and it does not take talent to color solid at your age. You're gonna have to come up with another way to make certain areas dark. Okay, so I would finish that off. Then I'm gonna go every other. So I'm gonna say like this one is gonna be darker, not this one. This one will be darker, not that one, then that one will be darker. Okay, opposite. This one will be light, this one will be darker. Light, darker. Okay, so opposite, darker, darker. Every other one, darker and lighter. Then to make something look dark, you're gonna have to fill it with something tiny. Little dots, little lines, little tiny shapes. So for this one, I'm gonna go back and do little hatch lines, lines that go the same direction, really close together to make this pattern have darker and lighter areas. And it actually takes less time than it does to color in as well. Okay, so I'd fill that way. Okay, so this is a varied pattern. I would say this one is almost a consistent pattern. All right, so then in your packets, some of them are broken down into steps. And so these are Zentangle patterns. Pinterest has a ton of them. So I like this one, but I'm gonna change it slightly. So I'm gonna use it like the basic structure of it, and then I'm gonna change. So it starts out with curved lines. Somewhat equally spaced. Okay, then slightly curved lines going the opposite direction. Okay, then it has circles on each corner. And to me, this kind of reminded me of like a warped calendar, like the squares. You're like, what day is it? Like, are we still in quarantine? We're still home? That's what it kind of reminds me of. We'll do that one at the bottom. We'll do some half circles going off the page. Okay, so from there, I was just using this one to look at the structure. From there, I'm going to change it. So since I said like, oh, this kind of reminds me of a calendar, well then I'm going to put like little squares in each corner to represent the date. So it's a symbolic pattern. Maybe I want to do the spiral again. Perhaps then maybe I want to go back and just do like a couple lines. And so then I'm going to work into this one. And I'm adding complexity to it. So a little extra detail. So you need to finish 6, then you're going to take a picture of this and you're going to put it into your Google Doc. So this will be in Google Doc 4. I believe this is the one of the last things you have to do for Google Doc 4. Although you do have to put some themed images in your final draft and submit that as well. So that way I can see like you understand themed imagery for your negative space and divisions. You have themed pattern, and then you've already practiced 6 to start with on your final draft. Okay, have fun.